Welcome to Guitar Talk episode 16. My name is Lee Anderson. Very happy to be here with you today. And we have a very special guest who we'll talk about in just a second. But we are going to hang out with members of the community here, the Play Guitar community, and spend our afternoon talking guitar. And this is going to be a lot of fun. And this was a question that our guest, and let's just welcome our guest right now. It's Evan Rychek. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Raychek.
Raychek. Okay. I knew I was gonna do it. That's why I checked right away. Evan Raychek, and he's a big part of our community, and we've been back and forth talking about some topics that we might talk about today. And I picked one. And this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a good time talking about expensive guitar pedals. So why don't you start thinking about that topic right now? We're going to check the chat for a minute or two before we get into the topic here. I'm going to see who we've got here. Evan W's here. David, Kevin, Dean is here. Josh. Oh, Josh is here. Awesome, man. And Joe. And let's see here. Chris is here. Wonderful. Oh, he's working, but he'll be hanging out. And let's see. Kevin. Gloria is here. Hi, Gloria. Great to see you. And we have an accident going on here. I'm going to check in. It looks like Evan sharpened a knife in an unsafe manner. I've done that before myself. No fun. So went to the urgent care. Wasn't too deep. Glued it. Awesome. That's good news. That is good news. Let's see here. It was across the heel of the palm. Whew. Okay. That's close. That's close. I still have a few scars right here. I've got one the length of the inside of this finger that was a not so brilliant move on my part one day that I get to remember every day when I look down at my hand. So, well, we're glad, Evan, that you're doing okay. That's good. And let's see here. Fun fact. Go ahead, Evan. I'll let you say your fun fact here.
Super glue was invented during the Vietnam War for battlefield wounds.
That's
so
right.
They could just squeeze some on and take you away.
That's right, man. That's right. And the famous Stevie Ray Vaughan was a big user of different types of super glue for his calluses that would come off mid concert. So he glue them right back on there and get right back to it. So Hal's here. Awesome. Had a COVID scare, but negative. Awesome. That's great, Hal. Wonderful. Glad you're here, man. So we got a whole group of us here today. We're going to talk about expensive pedals. And Evan and I have been back and forth by email once when I had first asked him when he the next time he could hang out with us, what some topics might be, and he had a bunch of good ones, and this is the one that popped out to me, and it was in a question form, and the question was, how good does a pedal have to be worth $300? Okay, now Evan, what led you to this question? Do you remember the specifics?
Yeah, so I get somehow on my Google feed, I subscribe to Guitar News.
Okay.
So I get actually a lot of the things that you show on the Gear Talk come up.
Okay.
So this thing came up for some new pedal that was $300. And I said, what would make a pedal worth $300?
Okay. And I told you before we came on, there's really two answers. There's the easy answer and then the one we're actually going to spend time on. The easy answer is if it's worth $300 to you.
That's actually what makes anything worth it is someone's willing to pay it.
And that's right. And it reminds me of a story that, I lived in Nashville for 2 years, and there was I've said this a couple times. There was a store called Guitar Heaven there, and they did a lot of used pedals. And I bought this one. It was black and green pedal. I can't even remember the name of it right now, but it was a Tube Screamer type pedal. And I bought it for like, I think it was like $60, $70. You know, I didn't think much of it, and I played it, and it didn't sound that great to me. So as you do when you have a pedal, when you're not going to really use it, it gets chucked into the box, right? With the other pedals you're not using at the time. Was moving and decided I needed to get rid of a lot of equipment I wasn't using and put it up on eBay. And I did not know that some famous Nashville guitar player had decided that this pedal was going to be his pedal of choice. And I put it on, and within 10 minutes, I got a private message. I'll give you $100 for that pedal right now. When I put it up, I think for what I paid for, like $60-$70. And I said, I just kind of thought about it. And then another private message popped up, and another one popped up, and I said, I think something's going on here, right? So I just let it ride. I didn't answer the questions. I just let it ride, and it was like $350. It ended up going for. So a pedal that to me wasn't worth keeping, to somebody else was worth $300. And that may be one of the reasons that I picked this, because I had intimate knowledge of this. And the first thing we could think about is, if a famous guitar player is playing it, it becomes worth $300, right? Did this pedal sound any better than a $75 mini Tube Screamer to me? I didn't think it sounded as good, but hey, but let's talk about guitar pedals, and let's go kind of through there's basically about 4 or 5. Let's talk about overdrive pedals. That's where I was kind of coming with this. There's basically 4 or 5 designs that are just copied and manipulated into different, to being kind of similar, but having different tonal characteristics. And I don't think any of the guitar pedals are really worth that much, unless I need them. Have I paid $300 for a guitar pedal? I paid a lot more. I've paid $500 and probably $50 for a loop pedal. And why did I do that? Because it would sync. That one pedal would sync with my drum machine, so I could do guitar loops with the drum machine that I was playing at. My wife and I were playing a gig in Atlanta, and I needed it, and it was worth it. And we played that same gig for 7 months. So I made my money back on that pedal. So in that instance, it was worth it. Did it sound like a $500 pedal? It sounded like every other loop pedal, but it had that functionality I needed at the time. So what guitar pedals, Evan, do you have right now?
I have one literal pedal. It's just a mini looper. I have a Boss Katana, so I play with all the pedals that are built into it.
Right.
No physical pedals, but more pedals than I could probably use down its menus.
That's right. Which pedals have you on the Boss? Which pedals have you gravitated towards?
So on the distortion, the Tube Screamer, I think the Blues Overdrive.
Okay.
At first, I literally couldn't tell the difference. Like they all sounded more distorted than no pedal.
Right.
And over time, I can start saying, "Oh, yeah, that sounds a little better."
And a lot of times they feel different too. The way they play, and you start to, not only your ears starts to hear the difference between them, but your the way you play. Certain pedals will fight you. Like it's easier to play fast on some pedals than like a fuzz pedal will fight it's very tough to play quickly on a fuzz pedal, just because
I
of the
found the ones I don't like will have a lot of noise with them,
right.
and they'll be just too much, or very little distortion.
Right.
So the tube screamer, at least on the one on the Katana, seems to have a nice range, and you can adjust it and get different levels.
Yeah, I haven't gone through those, but I know a lot about Boss pedals, so I would assume that a lot of the modeled pedals in that amp are Boss pedals. So, and what do you think about Boss pedals? I'm going to ask the chat about this. How many folks have had a Boss pedal before, and what was your what was your feeling about it after you bought it? Do you think it was, usually Boss pedals are pretty, the prices are fair. They're not extremely expensive, although now they're getting into some more fancier things. They're considered workhorse pedals. And if you've ever played in a bar before, you know that not all pedals will survive playing in a bar. With people that's one thing that when you get your pedal board set up and you're ready to go out and play, you just think you're the only person that's going to be stepping on those pedals. But as people start to drink and the night gets longer, you find that people enjoy walking across your pedal board a lot. So I've had pedals break on me, but never a Boss pedal. Boss pedals have been super solid. And you said you liked a Tube Screamer and then the Boss Blues Distortion. Was that it?
Yeah, I think Blues Overdrive.
Blues Overdrive. Okay. Yeah, I've had the Blues Driver, the Boss Blues Driver. But I haven't, Boss has several of a Tube Screamer type pedal. The OD1s, OD3s, and I think that's what they are. I never owned any of them, but
I think on their menu they have something labeled OD1, but there's also something labeled T-Screamer.
Okay, great. Let's check the chat real quick. I'm seeing a lot of Boss stuff going on. I'm gonna go back. Hal brings up the Klon Centaur, $2,000 plus. Yes. And it's I remember when it was not that. And now you got guys like Warren Haynes and all, the big guitar players are all playing them too. Here's the thing with me. If somebody was playing a Klon Centaur, would I be able to know just by listening that they were playing one? And I wouldn't. I don't know. I know it sounds like an overdrive pedal. It may be wonderful, but I don't hear someone's playing and go, he's playing a Klon Centaur. I don't have that. So for me, it was never worth getting in. But some people obviously really love them a lot. $2,000. Now that's more than I don't have an electric guitar that's more than $2,000. So that falls into Evan's. Is your pedal worth more than your guitar? How about amps? Is playing into an amp that's worth more than your guitar? Now that I can see. There's some amplifiers that can really get up there, and they sound. You can tell the difference. But a pedal, I'm not so sure. Evan W says, I keep seeing the Wampler pedal ads. Wampler released a free plug-in version of its Terraform pedal. Brian Wampler is a cool guy. I don't know him, but I've followed him since he started. And I actually bought, he started off modding pedals. And he had something that was a PDF about how to mod different pedals, how to mod DS1s and Tube Screamers and all the things, which I bought. I did a couple of his mods. And it's a really good guy, and then ends up over time building his own pedals and getting a lot of country guys to play his pedals. So if he puts it out, I would say it would be a pretty good plug-in to do that. Josh says the pedal has to be able to cater meals for that much. And then sheesh. at the end of that. So, yeah, that's right. That's right, man. That's a lot of money. Evan has an old Boss heavy metal pedal, which apparently goes for a couple $100 these days, and you never use the thing. Yeah, there's something. I've got a few I've been hanging on to that didn't play, but I was hoping one day they'd make some money. Probably because I don't think anybody would buy them. What was it? The MD? Let me see here. Let me get my Boss MD2. Is this it? Yes, the Mega Distortion pedal. Boss MD2. I bought it. I paid a lot of money for it. It was like $160, $70 when I bought it. It was supposed to give you the sound of a Mesa Boogie type. Didn't sound anything like a Mesa Boogie, and it went right into the box. And I think the one time I thought about selling it, people weren't buying them for anywhere near what I paid for, so I just held on to it. Let's see here. I'm going to go back a little bit more. And so they were talking about so his is a heavy metal pedal, not the Metal Zone. And Evan says it's not terrible, it's more of a buzzsaw sound. And that's the I think I've seen that one before. Josh says I've liked all my Boss pedals a lot. Yeah, and he says you can throw a Boss pedal at an attacker and it will survive. A Telecaster and a Boss pedal and you can survive most bars. Yeah, I guess so. Kevin owns 4 that are really great. Some are really good, some aren't that great like anything. And Jones says he still do. He loves his Metal Zone, the Boss Blues, and my Boss Wah-Wah. It's okay. Hal has a Boss DS1 Distortion. For $50, it works. He says ear's not trained enough to know if it's good, but it does add crunch. There are some very, very famous guitar players whose tone relies on a Boss DS1. And there's Kurt Cobain used the DS1. Joe Satriani, Steve Vai both built their early lead sounds around that pedal. The deal with these pedals is they're not on their own. They're dependent on the amplifier that you're playing them through, and they're also dependent on the guitar and the pickups you're using in front of them. So you can get a pedal that one person, because of their gear, gets a fantastic sound, but on your sound, if you just plug them into whatever amp, may or may not get that. So a little bit more, and then I'm going back to Evan here. So Glory has a Boss Distortion. Josh has a DS1 and the ME50 still. The ME50 was a neat little thing. Evan was using multi-effects for convenience. And if I ever start playing out, I'm going to buy some Boss stuff. It's a free plugin of a version of a $300 pedal. I'm on board. Yeah. And guys, like I talked about, Brian's pedals, Wampler's pedals, and they're not cheap anymore. And because people want them, and I think he can hardly keep them in stock. So we'll come back to the chat in a minute. So, Evan, you have a loop pedal, and then you have a bunch of modeled pedals. So what ends up happening is a lot of guitar players get in with the modeling amps at first, which is a very smart move because you get to try a lot of different things without the financial part of it. If you were going to start to play out, let's say that the pandemic's over today, yay, and people are in the streets, right? And you were going to go out and play a gig tonight, right? How would you do that with your amp that you have right now?
Yeah, so right now the best I would do is I bought this little switch box that can switch between the 4 save things.
Okay, so it's got a pedal for the...
Yeah, so I could save 4 patches and flip between the patches.
Okay.
But don't have the flexibility of individual pedals, turning on and off in a song. It would be 4 different sounds, and that's pretty much it.
But 4 sounds is plenty. That's you could, and what's nice about that is that you could volume adjust for those 4 sounds. So a lot of times a clean sound sometimes gets too low, where your distortion sound gets really high when you use pedals, because pedals, people tend to really crank the gain in those, which actually brings the overall level up. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, to have just 4 core tones, and you could actually bring the clean tone up to match other ones as well, depending on your situation. If you're the only guitar player, it's having them all kind of the same level is pretty good if you're the only guitar. But if you're in a band with a lot of different instruments, you have to fight to get heard. So okay, so that's good. Let's talk about tuner pedals. Boss makes probably one of the most purchased pedals, the Boss TU2. I've had several of them, and we talked about that the other week, where you can hit the pedal, the tuner comes on, but it also mutes your guitar going through, so you can change guitars on the fly, unplug without having that huge crackling sound going through the PA system. So that's looper pedals and tuner pedals. Those are kind of like utility pedals. They do a certain thing. It's not really tone wise, but for you, Evan, what would be the pedal if you were going to get a pedal? You've obviously been looking. What if you were going to get one today? What would you get?
I don't. If anything, I'd probably get a different guitar, another guitar before, like a guitar. I have a Strat, so I'd get a humbucker guitar.
What have you been looking for?
So I was thinking of getting the 339.
Right.
So I was thinking if I got something, I would want to get something that would sort of give me the biggest breadth of what I can cover. So thought that it has the humbuckers, it is semi-hollow, so
Right.
some of that sound, and I'm not a big guy, so I thought that smaller one would be easy to handle.
Even if I'm a pretty tall guy, and a 335 is still an enormous guitar. they're just they're not the easiest guitars to play. Now standing up, it's okay, but sitting down, it's like having a very tall acoustic guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So the 339s are very neat. I played you have the Epiphone and then the Gibson 339s. I haven't played the Epiphone. I don't know but I would assume Epiphone's guitars have had a good reputation lately. So I would think that it would be a pretty decent guitar.
Yeah, that's a big Gibson. I think the Gibson is in the like 1500 or something.
Yeah, and up.
Around 500. So
yeah. And Gibsons, I don't know now. I haven't kept up with Gibson, but I know last year, the beginning of the year, their quality had gone down considerably. So, and Epiphone was doing good. So hey, but we're talking about expensive pedals. What makes a pedal worth $300? If it was the pedal that changed things for you, like that Klon there for $2,000. If that would be the game changer for your playing, I could see myself spending a lot of money if it was something that was definitely needed. Are they needed now? Well, you have people that go out with modeling boards directly into the PA that aren't even using amplifiers anymore. Let's talk ease of use though. So say you do have one of those boards, or you do have I have not played through your amp, so I don't know how easy it is to set a tone up. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So there are knobs on it which are easy but fairly limiting, because you only can get a few choices in the knobs.
Okay.
And then there's computer programs that put up a picture of a pedal board and you click around. And so the computer part of it is pretty easy to set up. Plus, you're not having to reach down to the floor. You got the whole thing in front of you.
Okay, so it's like an app that you is it a USB connection or like a MIDI connection?
Yeah, there's a USB connection to it. And there's a couple of different. There's a app that Boss gives with the box, and then there's an aftermarket that some guy wrote on his own. That
Okay.
builds in a. So I guess the electronics of the Boss is the same as based on what some of their multi effects units are.
Okay.
Like so, the Boss itself has a knob for 5 amp types, and then some guy wrote some software that unlocks it and gives you like 25 different amp types. 'Cause
Right.
It's in the electronics, but they don't offer it on the box itself.
Right.
In that program.
Right. So when we would play out, I played a Line 6. I remembered this the other day, one of the early Flextone amps. And it was a nightmare when it wasn't working out well on stage to edit things quickly on the fly. But if the Boss has got the knobs, even if they're limited, can you, so it's basically you'd be like bass, middle, and treble and gain and just, volume.
Yeah,
Pretty
so you
much.
can mess with that.
Yeah.
If you're using the computer side and you start messing with the effects pedals or the amp selection, that doesn't work well. You sort of have to do for those features. You either have to be using the knobs or using the computer, and don't mix them up. It doesn't like that.
Cool. I'd love to hear what a pedal would sound like in front of it too. Some modeling amps, you could put actual guitar pedals in front of those and they sound great, and other ones they don't sound so good. So
Yeah, I've heard good things. There've been a bunch of internet things out there on Boss as a pedal platform, Katana as a pedal platform.
which wattage did you get? How powerful is the one?
I got the 50, which is
Okay,
plenty.
that's plenty. Yeah, that's a good one.
It has like half watt, 25 watt, 50. I'm usually on half or 25. I don't think I've ever turned it up to 50.
Okay, good. That's good. That's good. Neighbors, right? So, okay. So let's go back to the chat for a minute, and then we'll come back. So let's see here. David asks, can you use programs like Bias Effects 2 Out? Seems so much better than dragging pedals around. I guess you could. You could bring a laptop and plug in. I know that when David Letterman was on, he had 2 guitar players, and I think her name was Felicia, the female guitar player, and she played everything from a laptop. So she had all of her sounds programmed in and wasn't using an amp at all, when the other guitar player was. I've never done that. I've never felt. I have used a floorboard for that, but I've never gone with using a tablet or a laptop before. But I know it's possible. And Josh says, still haven't ever used any modeling effects yet. Plan on trying someday. I've always been a pedal guy. And then Evan says, there's a way, I'm sure, David, with right interface score. Yeah, we just talked about that. David Sparrow's here. Hi, David. And he says, I had a Mega Distortion 2. Also didn't like it. Yeah, it was not a great, not a great pedal. But one day, it's going to be worth a lot of money, and I'm going to have one. And somebody's going to want it. Maybe. Or it could be a good bookend, hold the window up. Joe Hernandez says, I just bought Bias Effects 2. Put it this way, I haven't scratched the surface, and it's unbelievable. Yeah, there's some really good sounds in there. I've got the Bias amp, and I like it. It's very good. I also have that Scuffum S Gear, which has been around for a few years now, and they're neat sounds too. Let's see here. And hi to David. Justin says DS1 can sound terrible or decent depending on the amp. And that's the big learning thing with pedals too, is that you read what other people say you read the promotional things, you hear the clips, and then when you get it and plug it into your stuff, it rarely ever sounds that way. And it's a big letdown. And usually causes you to spend more money on other pedals. And so this is what we talk about a lot, is not being afraid to, if you go to the guitar store, to bring your guitar and your amp with you, to try things out. And if they have a problem with that, that's probably not the right guitar store for you. But the effort that it would take to bring your gear with you, and it would be well worth the amount of time that's lost by going back and forth, selling pedals, trying new ones out, back and forth. And Josh says, I like the DS1 with the Marshall amp. It makes a cool crunch to your playing. Yeah, and also on a Fender amp, we talked about that. It does a really, really good Clapton tone, the DS1. You just have to set it different. The DS1's a very brittle pedal. If you put the tone knob at 12 o'clock, it sounds really thin and really terrible. All the goodness from the DS1 is with the tone knob rolled back around like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in that area. Let's see, a little bit more here. Justin says they sound great with Marshalls, and Frusciante uses those. David Sparrow says most I've paid for a pedal so far is £199 for my Keeley modded turbo tube screamer. It's a lot, but I use it almost every day, so it was worth it. If you use it every day and it sounds great to you, it was worth it. Maybe the ME50 would be modeling. I guess it has a lot of analog though. I'm not sure if the ME50 is modeling or not. I know they do have. Boss has some of those that do have modeling in them. Let's take a look. The ME50 focuses on multi-effects, Cosm, overdrive, and I know Cosm is Boss's modeling technology rather than amp modeling. So they're modeling the pedals in the ME50. Let's see here. Multi-effects processor with Rogue. I'm trying to see how much of it's analog and how much of it's their Cosm stuff. They're not saying. Okay, so we'll head back over here. So that I don't know. It looks like they have Cosm for their pedals, but not amplifiers. Dave says, I think the isolated power supply was more than most of the other pedals. It's hard to bring yourself to spend a lot on it, as it doesn't change your tone, but it's definitely worth it, especially for gigs. And Josh says, I've heard the Boss Blues Driver is a pretty good pedal. Also, I've used that pedal. I have the Keeley modded Blues Driver, and I've used that for many different things in front of many different amps. It's a very cool pedal. Different than a tube screamer, though. So Evan, your Strat. Now I've said it many times on your videos that you get a really good tone with what you're using. What model Strat do you have?
That's called. I don't think the Deluxe Strat.
Okay, and that's
they have the affinities, and then they have just the no name, just the Strat.
Okay.
And they have the Deluxe Strat, and then goes to the Vibes and those things.
So it's before the classic Vibes, but after like Bullets and Infinities and all that kind of stuff. How's the neck on that guitar? Is it a wide neck Squire, or is it one of the thinner neck?
It's a thin neck, which is why I liked it, and it's a satin finish.
That's cool. That's good. Yeah, it sounds fantastic.
Probably why I didn't want to get the Vibes. I actually got it by accident. I was trying to get a Yamaha Pacifica because I had a lot of good reviews, and I liked the idea of the humbucker and the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
But I ordered it, and then it would be back ordered, ready in a week, and ready in a week, and ready in a week, and I said,
That's right. Give me the Give me the score.
It worked out fine. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, it sounds great. It really sounds good. And so all of those tones that I've heard are through the Boss amp as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a good combo. That's a good combo. not a ton of money to invest, but a good, a medium kind of investment for starting out off. So yeah, I like that. And I think most that I've heard you play was clean, correct? I don't think on any of the videos you put on you've had.
Yeah, nothing heavy. Maybe a little bit of crunch, but nothing heavy. Like I said, tube screamer light. On without too much. I think when we did the Gilmore stuff, I started putting in some reverb and overdrive,
Mm-hmm.
and then not overdrive, reverb and delay. Right? And then I found this really good website for anyone else who's using Katana called Studio Rats that has some great tutorials on how to use it.
Evan W is asking you. He says, "Can that amp be used also as an audio interface as well?"
Yeah, so it's actually yes, and the funny thing the other way. So if you plug in the USB, it handles all the controls. It can be used as an audio interface to record off of. Right, so you can pump it into whatever your DAW is.
Okay.
But I found out by accident that it's also a speaker thing going the other way. So the first time I tried it, first in one of the practices, I clicked on a YouTube backing track and almost blew my house down. and didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, this roar coming out of the amplifier. So I shut it off. What was that?
Yeah, that can be. I would assume that would make you stop and read the directions a few more times.
Yeah. I'll still get caught once in a while because I'll have it because I'm playing with the patches or settings, and I'll forget to unplug the USB cable, and I'll click on a backing track.
Bud Beard he says, "Hi, visiting a friend in Tarpon Springs, listening to you, man. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate that. You are more than welcome to contribute in the chat. Great to have you here, Bud." And we're looking back at Chris. Chris has a new old, so an NOGD, new old Guitar Day here. He's got a Yamaha, Yamaha SE 312R. It's an 88 with a Floyd. Needs setting up, and you could drive a bus underneath the strings. Ouch. Goodness gracious. That sounds like fun, man. That sounds like a cool project right there. So high action with a Floyd. That sounds like some neck adjustments there. Evan says those Yamahas are supposed to be pretty nice. Sounds like fun to sort out. And he says it looks like his other Strat. Justin says his 20-year tone journey is finally complete. He picked up a Fender Princeton with a 12-inch Celestion. Sounds like heaven in a box. Yes, is it just Justin? Is it just a Princeton or is it a Princeton Reverb? And did someone route a 12-inch speaker for that cabinet, or is it a different cabinet together? I've heard Princetons with 12-inch speakers, and they sound fantastic. It's a neat little amp. David's still waiting for his Spark amp. It's been 5 months, and they say it's on the way now. Well, we're waiting. We should get in touch with them and say, look, man, enough is enough. Would you please send David his amp? You got one laying around there? Come on, man. Dean says, I wish my clients would pay me 7 months before I ship something. Right. Okay. And let's see here. And David wanted to know if Chris could get a single or a double decker bus under those strings, or the triple over in Universal Studios, right? So they gave David the 2 weeks again. He's got the ships in 2 weeks. Ships in 2 weeks. Okay. Well, we're talking about expensive guitar pedals. Some of the ones that I've seen are delay pedals. I think it's the Strymon. Let me see. Let me look at that. This is a very popular, the Strymon delay, the Big Sky, multi-dimensional reverb pedal. Okay, that's the one that you hear about all the time. So it's a reverb pedal. It's multi-effects reverb. It's got 12 reverb types, 300 presets. 300 presets for reverb. But man, if you're the type of guitar player who that reverb is a big part of your sound, $479. That was one I looked at. Let's see here. They also have the Tape Echo pedal, and this one's a bargain. It's the El Capistan for $299. And it's got 3 tape machine emulations, 10 tweakable parameters, on-board spring reverb emulation. So it's got a reverb sound as well, and sound-on-sound looping. That sounds pretty good. It's got a looper in there too. Then there's a regular Big Sky. So the one we had is some sort of a fancy 3-button pedal. The regular Strymon Blue Sky is $300. So there's definitely a boutique market out there. There are people that will pay a lot of money to have the best in guitar pedals. Now, for someone, let's talk to Evan W. a little bit, because he's been big into recording. And you know that if you mic an amp with all of your pedals, and once it's in your DAW and you can start doing different things to it, it changes the character of your tone. So there are things that you can do to a reverb, actually use an in-the-box reverb, and you can adjust a lot of parameters there that could make it sound very nice. So, is this being used for live for a $300 reverb pedal, or is it being used for recording? Is it that much better than in the box recording? I don't know. Evan, what's the most expensive guitar gear that you've played? Not owned, but played. And I'm talking to Evan. I'm talking to you.
Me or Evan W?
Evan R.
The guitar and the amp.
Okay, so
That's
just
probably the most expensive.
just what you have. You haven't gone out and tried a whole lot of different.
Yeah. So
guitars.
I got it sort of a odd circumstance.
Well, go ahead. Let's hear it.
We were talking in the office one day, just shooting the breeze, and someone said, "Man, I wish I were running a winery." Right. And then someone else said, I forget what they said, and I said, "I wish I were playing electric guitar." And then they said, "You play electric guitar?" I said, "No, never touched one, but it would probably be a cool thing to do."
And that's
And then about 2 months later, I won my family NCAA Final Four pool.
Okay.
I had a few $100, and I said, "What should I do with a few $100?
Time to do it.
Go buy an electric guitar."
Yeah. It's I have a lot of students who work in higher pressure jobs, or jobs that don't have a lot of outlet for creativity, where the guitar's been fantastic. It's been made everything easier. I know for me, just doing this, what I've been trying to do here, like I'm working a full-time job plus trying to build this business online at the same time, and making sure everybody is practicing and keeping up there. And then at the same time, it gets to be like 1 o'clock at night and I haven't practiced, and for a while there, it got to the point where I just didn't have the time to do it. And about, I think it was the last challenge that we had, I forced myself to sit down and practice a little bit one day. I just said, you know what, it's going to get done. I'm burning myself out, and just played for fun a little bit, you know, just, it wasn't even a structured practice, just played for fun. And since then, I'm handling things better. You know, it kind of rounds out life. How's it affected your
No, it's been great. So it's been about a little over 2 years. It was like June 2 years ago that I got it. And at first it was, okay, make sure to make time to practice. And now it's more, it's just what I do.
right?
I don't even think of it as going to practice. I, finish dinner and go play guitar instead of going to watch TV.
Yeah.
This is what I do with my time, and it's definitely a release and escape.
And it's something fun that you still can feel accomplishments from.
Yes.
Which I find is very lack for a better word, attractive, to watching TV. And mine was video games, and this was a long time ago, but I was playing all the time. And when I got home, didn't really want to play music. I've been playing music all the time. So I picked up video games. I was playing video games for a while. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing them. But I got to the point where I had to stop. I was like, it's not doing anything. I don't have that sense of accomplishment. And then, so I kind of separated work for music from work for music for having some fun, and so now I'm trying to get back to that too. But that's wonderful. That's
actually one of the things, the way the academy's set up is it's structured so every week you can say, I'm doing something I didn't do last week.
Right.
So you're sort of guaranteed to. It's almost impossible not to have some progress that you see clearly week to week.
It's small. It's 12 small goals, and if you just look at the titles, that's what's going to happen at the end of the 12. Yeah, it's neat. It's working out better than I thought it would. I basically have taken my group guitar lessons, which were 12-week courses, and they actually work better here than they did in the classroom. It because you can go, even with the coaching, you can go back and watch it again if you miss something. That's huge. That it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but I know from all the different teachers that I've had, I don't remember anything. And usually it would take 3 or 4 days, and I would know the main things I was supposed to do, but I wouldn't remember a lot of the, well, what did he say or what did she say for me to do here? Or what was their comments and those kind of things. So having these things on video, and then now I'm working on getting the main videos done and being able to go back and look at those. In fact, I've had some students who have gone through 202 and 203, the minor pentatonic and the major scales years ago, but we're going back and revisiting those, but just coming at it from a different angle. These are the tools that you use all the time. This isn't throwaway things. This isn't like little kid teaching. Yeah. These are the tools you're going to use all the time, and you can always get better at the major. It's so big. Playing the major scales, playing the minor scales. It's such a big topic and can go in so many directions that we've come back to 202 and 203. And just the assignments were more geared towards where that student was at the time, but those achievements, this is what brought it up. Those achievements are still in there. I think repetition in anything, a lot of this isn't just music that I talk about, and especially in the podcast, the frustration episodes and the setting goals episodes. It's repetition is the key to everything. If you want to get good at something, you could spend 2 weeks, 24 hours a day learning something, but then a month later, you're not going to remember most of it, but small chunks of time every day. They talk about writers writing every day, even if it's for a half hour every day, and it takes the pressure off when you have a repeating schedule. Say you have a bad day. Well, if you're going to be doing it every single day, it's not that big a deal. If you have a bad day, well, tomorrow I'll be doing the same thing. We'll just keep going from there, where if, especially like with guitar lessons, and this is usually the middle school kids or the high school kids that you say, okay, I'll see you next Friday. And then they don't touch they don't touch the guitar until Thursday night, the night right before. You can see it. You can see it in their eyes. They're trying to remember everything that they crammed the night before. And it's like cramming for a test, or it's like doing a presentation, anything where you put it off to the last minute, So
Do you find you're getting a different kind of people, players, students in the academy versus when you did group lessons?
Yeah, we had a lot more women in group lessons than in the academy, and I'm hoping that that's going to change over time. So we do have Gloria's here, and Cheryl, who's been a student of mine for a long time, and it's starting to happen more. It was close to 50. I don't know, 50-50, maybe 60-40 in group lessons. So hoping over time that kind of happens. So I'm sure it will, because in the Start Here Guitar, just the beginner course that I put out, there's a lot of female students in that too. So that's the only difference. Not as many. Oh no, there's a big difference. Not as many like high school kids and stuff like that for the online stuff. This is gearing more towards people who are, I guess it's because of the podcast. So people who are really frustrated and are really trying to, I think most high school kids, when they get frustrated, they just move on to something else. So what we're getting is people who are determined that they're searching out answers to really be able to play this thing, So, and that's good. That's a good quality to have. So we have a good quality of people here who are really looking really want to be able to do this, instead of it just being something that they might do and put it away over time.
Did you get as many people who've been playing for a while and were coming back to lessons to solidify some of the basics when you were doing group lessons?
When I was doing group lessons, yeah, I had a lot of students who, once they were out and playing in bands, that they didn't do lessons anymore. So I would usually get up to that, but then I would go out and jam with them instead. Like, I'm still on the phone, I'm still on call, but once they're out and playing. But no, I do have a lot of people who play in churches, will play for church for a while, then they'll come back for lessons again. Yeah, I do. I have a on second thought, I do have people who come in and out at some point too.
Because I thought that was an interesting mix of the academy group.
Yeah.
People that are sort of at whatever age sort of getting started, and people that have been playing for a while and either are picking it up again or have been playing for a while and want to fill in something.
Yeah, I don't really market towards beginners, and I don't really market towards advanced players, and I can teach all of them. That I really am looking for people who are trying to figure this thing out, and I don't really see as big a difference between a beginner and an advanced player as other people do. I just think you're a point on the path, and once people can see that, it like this advanced player was right where you are, and the only difference that you have between that player is time. If you put the time in, and you follow, and the big thing about guitar is that there's so much to it, you veer off a lot. So I want to do tapping is the big thing that this people start wanting to do all the Eddie Van Halen things, and then they get really into that, really into that, really into that, and all of a sudden they get an opportunity to play in a band and they can't do it, but they can tap, So yeah, it's going very well. It's going very well, and I like how it's kind of worked its way to this point where I'm doing the coaching on the weekends, but we're also doing all this hanging out on the weekends. So it's all kind of fresh. So I'm seeing the videos that are coming in and seeing what people are having difficulty with and what they're going through. It's really not that different than the group students. Group students were interested in theory a lot more. That's something that I'm noticing too. I would get a lot more questions about music theory in the group classes than on the internet. On the internet, people are very happy to have, I think the big thing is to have a roadmap to go by. So that's been, you go to, so you go in Philadelphia, right? And you go to, I know a lot of guitar teachers in that area because I took lessons in that. And you go there and they sit down and they go, well, what do you want to do? And you're like, I'm paying you money. I'm coming here to, I want to be good at guitar, right? Tell me what I'm supposed to do. So if you notice with the roadmap, there isn't any of that. Well, what are we doing right now? What direction do you want to go? No, these are the steps that it takes. And when you get to the end of this level, this is what you're going to be able to do. Then we move to the next level, and this is what we're working on. And I think that 10 to 12 weeks working on it, like focusing on a subject, is plenty of time to get. It's plenty of time to get in depth in a certain subject, and then you're really ready to move on. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, I have a good handle on this now, and it's time to move to the next. Another big difference was at the end of each of these levels, we would have a concert. So that's a big difference here. So if you notice at the end of the levels, when you start getting to lesson 11 and lesson 12, there's less work. That was because at the same time, we were rehearsing for a concert that was coming up at the end. And that was something I really loved about it. It was a ton of work. It was overwhelming, but that's something I guess I'll put out to everybody who's listening is I'd love to have something like that, some sort of way to show off what you've been working on. Unfortunately, we can't. What I would do is I hired a drummer and a bass player and a place for us to play, and everybody would bring their family and friends, and then we would just each class, and the class would play together. So the chairs that we would use in class, I'd line them up across the stage. So it's the same chair that you're sitting in every week, the same music stands. I didn't ask everybody to stand up. You could sit down, and we played, and it's the same people that you were learning in the group with. So people who would have never played in front of a crowd were playing in front of 150 people, at the end of 12 weeks. So, and that's the beginner class did that as well. We would do, what did we do? We did, we had a couple, I can't even remember the first two songs. We had the same songs. We did, it'll come to me in a minute, but we had two easy songs. And every beginner class would always play those same two easy songs. And so what was neat is when the beginner class would play, everybody would go crazy because every level had gone through doing that, how scared they were to play those songs. So it was neat. It was really neat. So that's one of the differences now with this that I'm not getting. I'm not getting that, but that performance, that camaraderie that you get through a performance, and how to do that in this situation is, I think I'm really working on community here. I think that's probably how I'm trying to add that kind of a feel into it. Even though we're not performing for an audience, we're performing for each other. We're people are putting up videos. I'm encouraging that. So not the same, but it's a decent, it's a good thing. I love these weekends, where we're hanging out and talking guitar and stuff. I could talk guitar all day. I don't talk very much when we're not doing these things, so I save it up for when we do. But this was fun, man. Thank you for hanging out. We started on expensive pedals and got into some other stuff. It's fun talking to you. I knew I would enjoy talking to you because I really enjoy your videos. So let's check the chat a little bit here, and then we'll come back and say goodbye after that. So I want to go back. Haven't looked at it in a little bit. So let's see here. Evan says Spark is a real amp, but it only ships to YouTube personalities. Yeah, you gotta go to NAMM and meet the people who make the Spark. Justin said his amp was a Princeton Reverb 65 reissue. That's right. So the reverbs have a little extra gain to them than a regular Princeton. There's an extra tube in there. It's a special edition, so out of the factory with the 12. Yeah, pretty cool. So it's a 65 reissue with a 12 in there. Pretty neat. Let's see here. David says Strymons are a fortune, really good but expensive. Yep, that's what we're talking about. And Justin highly recommends the EQD Dispatch Master Delay Reverb in one as well. I don't know about that one. I'll check that out. Evans says recording has shifted his mindset on digital modeling effects. I used to not get the point, but now I feel like I've got a huge palette at my fingertips. Yeah. In recording, there's a lot that you can do with them too, and it's like painting. You can overdo it, or you could, it's really depends on your personality and the way that you come towards digital effects. There's some very cool things that you can do, but then you can also go crazy with them too. David's thinking about getting a 2-Notes Torpedo Captor X, as it's also an attenuator, really handy as a cab sim and mic sim for direct recording. Yeah, I think those you can put impulses in the 2-Notes Torpedoes, but also has the attenuator for. Yeah, I had thought about one of those as well at some point. Evan says, I'll count myself in that number. My job's super stressful lately, but being able to get away from things on my guitar really helps. I always have playing and recording to look forward to. Good. That's wonderful. Joe says, Lee, give us a 2-minute jam today before you go. Oh, okay. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see here. I've already kept you guys too long. 10 minutes over. David used to have problems sleeping once he started playing the guitar. He sleeps like a baby now. Awesome. That's good news. Josh said, I had a scare of working next to 2 ladies that got the COVID. Oh, goodness gracious. At the job, I had to be watched to see if I got it for 14 days. Well, we're very happy that you didn't, man. That's good news. David wants me to jam for 2 minutes too. We'll see here. Let's see. I've been looking at the 2-Notes as well. Need an attenuator. Attenuators. I had a Weber Mini Mass attenuator that I used for a while. That was pretty cool. The guy who started the Weber speaker company passed away, and I don't know if they're still doing that anymore. Let's see. I'm just going to skim past here. Sunday Fun Day would be a good day. Lee's Ultimate Concert. Yeah. Okay. Well, got a lot of good ideas. David says you could do a Zoom concert with everyone. Yeah, that would be kind of neat. The problem is that on Zoom, as far as conversations, you don't notice it, but there's a delay involved. So when trying to have people all playing, and it depends on your internet connection and all. And there are some, I've seen it. Actually, we had Island Styles, who's the guy from Candlebox, on the podcast in the beginning of the year. And I've seen on Facebook that he's playing remotely with people all over the country, and they've figured out a way to deal with the lag. So I'm kind of curious to see what he used for that. And Josh says, I do have a question for 204. Remember you saying you don't want to get copyright strikes. Do I just send the songs I'm supposed to learn to you? Yeah, you can just send them to my email. That'd be fine. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Evan. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I've been wanting to do this for a while. You're always a lot of fun on your videos, so I knew we'd have a good time talking too. So
Yep, I'm off to do that soon. So
okay, great. I've got a good. I'm actually on. I just started Joe's video right before I had to stop and get things together for this show. So I'm kind of knee deep in it right now. So I'm looking forward to yours for, I guess, for tomorrow would be fine. Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Evan. Thanks everybody for hanging out.
not at all.
And everybody have a great rest of your weekend. And I'll see you. Well, I guess we'll do a little bit of a hangout tomorrow. No big plans, no questions or anything like that. Just whoever feels like hanging out around 4 tomorrow, I'll be online. And everyone have a great rest of your week. And we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thank you, Evan.